who wins the series?
I'm rolling with the Spurs in 6. If Serge Ibaka were healthy, I'd be picking OKC in 7. OKC could still win this series, but I think it would require KD, Kevin Durant, the reigning league MVP, 4-time scoring champion, along with Russell Westbrook, averaging over 70 a game in this series in order for the Thunder to beat the San Antonio Spurs. That's just the way that I see it. Serge Ibaka is that pivotal, not just because he's a SWAT master extraordinaire. He can defend. He wreaks havoc against Tim Duncan and Thiago Splitter and these boys, but also because that 15 to 17-foot shot is something he's capable of hitting. You have to respect and honor it, and as a result, it pulls dudes away from the basket, and it really, really neutralizes San Antonio in the paint to some degree anyway. Plus, you know what? If you're Tony Parker, you constantly have to watch your back with somebody like a Serge Ibaka. But the fact that he's gone, I think, cripples the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I think it requires Kevin Durant to be Jordan-esque, to be, like LeBron was last year and the year before that against Boston with his 45-point, 15-rebound effort. I just think it takes something spectacular for OKC to win this series. I know that Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook is capable of it, but what I'm saying is they need to do it for 4 out of 7 games in order to pull it off, not to have 1 or 2 of them. They need to average over 70 points combined between the 2 of them in this series for 4 games in order for them to beat the San Antonio Spurs, and I don't believe they're going to be able to do that.
Here's my prediction. I think this will still be a very, very close series. I'm not buying into all the, oh, my God, no Serge hype here. I'm going to say my Spurs win this in 7 games, very close Game 7. I'm going to say Ginobili hits the game winner in Game 7 in San Antonio because it's going to be that close because the Thunder have that many Spurs killers left on this roster. Stephen A., you've watched these games. You watched these 4 games this year. My Spurs can't do much with Durant. I know Kawhi's had his moments on him, but if Durant wants to rise up and get 36 or 7, he'll get them. If Westbrook wants to rise up over Tony Parker, whoever tries to guard him, and get 35, he'll get them. And the number 1 Spurs killer, I don't know if people have locked in on this. You want to talk about who's been Jordan-esque against my Spurs? Reggie Jackson, who absolutely saved this Thunder season. If he hadn't done what he did in Game 4, remember that, against Memphis, when they could have gone down 3-1 at Memphis? Remember what he did in the 4th quarter and overtime? It sure wasn't KD or Westbrook. It was all Reggie. This kid plays huge in big games, and his scoring against the Spurs this year in the 4 games, the first 3, he went 23, 21, and 27. Look out below because they'll play that 3-guard offense, and it might cause Coach Pop to need 3 glasses of wine after some of these games because they can just shoot the lights out. They always do against my Spurs. Caron Butler, the Spurs wanted him at the trade deadline. The Thunder got him. Watch him play big against the Spurs. And finally, I brought this up the other day, Steven Adams can play. Presti scored again in the draft. I don't know how he keeps doing this. He scored with Reggie Jackson down at like 24 in the first round. Steven Adams at 12. That's a sensational pick because without Ibaka against the Clippers in Game 6 at L.A., remember what he did? He played 40 minutes and had 10 points and 11 rebounds. He's pretty good. They're not going to be gimmies in the lane for the Spurs anymore with him and Collison. They can both play. So I just say if the Thunder get hot-handed, as they often do against the Spurs, it's going to be a shootout. My only advantage that I see, Stephen A., is the Thunder haven't played defense in the playoffs the way they usually do, and I don't know why, because Ibaka's been there most of the time. But they allowed 106.3 points a game in 6 versus the Clippers. 106, that's a lot. So I think these will be shootouts. They could both go up in the hundreds each game, and I'm just hoping my Spurs can just outshoot the Thunder from the perimeter, because it may boil down to that.
Well, I definitely think it's going to be a shootout. I'm certainly not implying that the San Antonio Spurs are going to neutralize Oklahoma City's offense. I know that what kind of points they're going to put up, and I believe in Reggie Jackson. I love his game, and I think that he's going to bring a lot to the table. But, Ken, I keep reminding you, that come postseason time, you play by big boy rules. You have to have somebody in the paint, whether it's offensively or defensively. And even though I like Steven Adams a great deal, let's keep in mind the fact that it's one thing to come off the bench and do the kind of things that he's capable of doing. It's another thing to be that guy that's inserted into the lineup because Serge Ibaka is out. When you're on the floor for extensive minutes with some of the dirty tricks and the things that he employs, you're going to get caught far more often as a starter than you will coming off the bench because you're going to be logging more minutes. And I don't think he's going to be able to be as effective as we're accustomed to seeing him be as a defensive presence and as a big man presence. And you have to remember, you're going up against Tim Duncan. And even though Tiago Splitter is no scrub, and I'm not trying to disrespect him in any way, but at the same time, the fact that he's playing alongside Tim Duncan is what helps him immensely. And so I look at it from that perspective, and I just say to myself, even though Oklahoma City can score on anybody, and I anticipate that they will, in the end, when you look at the bodies that San Antonio is going to be able to throw at them, the depth, combined with the fact that there's no Ibaka and your defense was a bit suspect compared to what we're accustomed to seeing anyway, I think all of those things spell trouble for Oklahoma City over a 7-game series. You could be right. It could go 7 games as opposed to 6. But I don't see Oklahoma City walking away with this series without Serge Ibaka. If Serge Ibaka was there, I was picking them to pick Oklahoma City, but not without him.